and that's it. We are unloading. Bye-bye. So the load is delivered and I kept everything the same way. I'm gonna show you in a second. Yeah, it's hard to see in the mirror, but I did not disconnect the Jeep or the Stinger or the long neck. I just hope I can make this turn because I have a bunch of dirt on my equipment from Alberta in Western Canada, and I wanted to go to Flying J in London because I unloaded in London, but over there it's much more difficult for a long vehicle to get to the truck wash. Like here, I've been here many times and it's only one lane. I just hope I can make it because, you know, on my truck everything articulates, and right before I delivered I scaled. I finally scaled. Until then it was all kind of like a guesstimate. So here's what we got. It's hard to see here, but the steer had 14,380 pounds. The drives were at 28,930 pounds for 2 axles. Pusher was up, and the tridem on the trailer was 27,020 pounds. And no, wait a second. Yeah. And then no, that's the Jeep. Sorry, my bad. So 14380 is the steer, 28920 are the drives, 27020 is the Jeep tandem axles, and then 59980 is the trailer, and the booster or Stinger was at 18440, and this was with maybe 40% of fuel, and my gross weight was 148,740, 148,740 pounds, which is not the biggest I've had, because the heaviest gross weight I had was with that John Deere, 100,000 pounds. And the customer who unloaded me gave me these switches. He replaced my flashing light switches on the back with these ones. That's what you need. You see, weatherproof, because it actually has a nut in here. Like, this thing doesn't just slide on, it has this little nut that holds this, and so he gave me the spare one. So this goes in my little chest in there, if I don't get killed by these falling glad hand rubbers. Yeah, I got these so okay, so I showed you my my weights. Let me see why I decided to wash it. Look at this. See this? It's awful. Everything is covered in this stuff. Like the Jeep, you know, like, look. See this? And look at the wheels. You know? Very, I don't know, salt and dirt all baked in. And that's why I want to wash it. I know it's gonna be dirty, but I know it's bad for the metal, you know. Yeah, and over here, of course, the Stinger is all screwed up, and that's where the scraper was sitting. See, everything is good. This is very strong. Is it? Look how much dirt is in here. and they probably charged me double. And now I'm empty. I went to hole number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I killed my service brakes. You see this? Otherwise, I saw that when I was driving, they were locking up because there's no weight, and I don't want to go any lower because I don't want to damage the bags. And I asked JC Trailer, I said, how much are these bags? Because some guys were telling me that I should buy an extra one. That's totally crazy because they're very big. Oh wow, that's not good. The Jeep takes so much air. Well, I guess it means because it's empty. Yeah, I see the airbags are like huge. And that's why people usually on slippery roads, you have to disconnect this. You cannot drive empty with a Jeep, because the Jeep takes a lot of weight from your drives. And so if you're driving on a snow-covered, slippery road, you don't have enough traction and you can easily slide off into the distance. And the only reason I'm driving now like this is because I already booked a load for Monday. So Monday we're loading 100,000 pound Caterpillar for basically 45 ton metric, right? About 99,000 pounds. It's the same one that I mentioned before, where the rate was super cheap, and they were trying to ship it to Baltimore. They sold this machine, so it's actually sitting in London, where the same town where I unloaded, right? But I have to get some rest. I have to do my paperwork for the last quarter of the year. I already did my IFTA on the computer. I just need to print it out, attach a check, and send it to Oshawa, Ontario. And then I did the New York. I just have to print it out again and attach a small check, like $3 I think I owe them this time. And Kentucky, wanted to do Kentucky, drive distance Kentucky. The website was down. I called the customer service. I said I didn't have any miles. I didn't go through Kentucky this time. Can you just do it on my behalf, like 0 miles? I don't owe you any money. And she said, I cannot do it because we have to use the same website as you. And so she says, you have to call back. It should be back online in the afternoon. And I forgot. And I ordered the permits, and I decided, I didn't have time to get set up myself, so I used my previous permit service company, except this time I tried something new. I didn't order the permits like manual, like manual I do like a PDF form that she sent me, and then I fill everything out, and then I send it to them, and then they have to copy everything and retype. Instead, I used the feature I didn't use before, which is actually available. I can go to the website. Of my permit service company, and I can just do everything online on their website. Like this way all the information they want is right there. Like if I don't put something in, I cannot go to the next page. It kind of like alerts me. Hold on, are we using the proper? Yeah, sorry. So the website alerts me, and so I did that, and then it's easy, and I just use their service now to order the permits. And the estimate is, and that's why I didn't want to do this load for cheap, the estimate for permits and escorts, because I'm going to be riding like this, right? I need the Jeep and Stinger. Even though I'm going to Baltimore, I could have done it on 8 axles just with the Stinger. I don't need the Jeep, but eventually I have to make my way back to Alberta to pick up scraper number 2. And so once I deliver in Baltimore, I'll pay them at the port to stack this Jeep on top, and probably I'll just drive with the booster down, or maybe I'll just stack the booster as well. But I'll try to find the load either from Baltimore to Alberta, or from Chicago to Alberta, or from Minnesota, like Minneapolis or Fargo, you know. But at least this way, this helps, right? This helps, even though it goes in the wrong direction. It goes to Baltimore, but it pays good money. But the permits will cost me over 2,000 US just to go 500 miles. So permits and escorts, the estimate on this other website I'm using said basically $4 a mile permits, you know. And that's why you cannot do this stuff cheap. And why they're so expensive is because I'm long, right? So I'm bumper to bumper and 105 feet long, 32 meters. And because I'm heavy now, right? So my empty weight is 72,380 pounds. 72380. That's my empty weight with the Jeep, the booster, the neck, but the driver didn't have a large breakfast. So it's light breakfast version. So maybe add 50 pounds. 20 pounds. So let's make it 72,400 pounds if the driver has a big breakfast. And so add 100,000 pounds of the weight of the excavator to this, and now we're looking at 172,000 pounds gross. That will be the biggest gross weight I've had so far, you know. Even though it's 100,000 pounds, right? I did it last time, but I'm telling you, it was difficult to get permits because when I did it without the Jeep and Stinger, so I was basically 160,000 gross, and I cannot get 20K per axle, you know, depending on the jurisdiction. Like Ontario does not like, that's something new that I learned a few weeks ago, that they only give me 22 pounds per 1 millimeter of the tire, and my tires are 425. And so to get 20,000 pounds, they want me to have like 445 tire. Forget that. I'm not putting that monster on, especially on the steer. And so yeah, Ontario does not give me full 20K on the pusher, but now it's up. I don't need it. And on the steer the same. And then I should be better on the bridge now, like the Peace Bridge always gives me trouble because they don't like my short wheelbase, 254. But now the pusher is up. At least now I have lots of space between the steer axle and the and axle number 2, which in this case is drive axle, right? But so yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So just taking a few days off. But tomorrow. Actually, yeah, where do you park? Where do you park this thing, right? With the Jeep and Stinger attached. I cannot go to my yard. It's too small. And I found a solution. I still want to do a couple of things on the truck. And we're going to give Kenworth another chance. And why? Because they have a big parking lot in there. And I called them. I said, hey, I need to do grease and change the fuel filter. And I have this small coolant leak. Are you guys okay tomorrow? Are you too busy? They said no. I said, hey, can I bring my trailer? And of course I didn't tell them that the trailer was a 9-axle rig. And they said, yeah, bring it over. I said, I'm just going to come with the trailer, drop the trailer, and then give you the truck, and keep the trailer there until you guys finish. So basically I'm getting free parking, you know. Because yeah, I don't want to disconnect because I need this Monday I'm loading, in London, so I have to drive back to London. Actually, I wanted to leave this in London, the whole shebang, at the customer, but the customer's where I delivered the scraper, but his yard is not too big. He had to drag me with the excavator. I couldn't get out. Of course, that's what most people do, is you have to disconnect the Jeep. But it's a lot of work. You have to disconnect the Jeep, then you have to hook to the trailer, then you back out of there, and then you drop the trailer, hook up to the Jeep, hook up the Jeep back to the trailer. But in this case, he has all kinds of machines in there, so we just hooked up chains to the rear of the trailer, and he hooked up, by my D-rings, and he just lifted the trailer and moved the side. I didn't want to record just in case, you know, somebody gets killed, but nobody got killed. But we didn't have, I don't have proof of that. I don't have a recording, but it was kind of funny. But he used a big 450 or something, like some big cat on John Deere. And at one point I saw the brakes were on the truck, and I see the truck starts moving, and I see the like the sound, you know, like the disc brakes are like trying to hold, but they can't because the excavator is too powerful. It started dragging, and I said, "Hey, what do you want me to steer? What do I do?" He says, "Release the brakes." Yeah, I try to steer, just follow the trailer. Well, it was something, you know, getting out of a small yard, and that's why now I'm kind of like curious, like, what do I do if I cannot make that turn over there? Like, there's a where you see that cattle guy over there with the yellow, what is that, Peterbilt, and right in the center of the frame now there's a light post, right? But again, in my case, I do have some hope that I will make this turn because everything articulates, right? The Jeep has a fifth wheel, you know, so the Jeep turns, the trailer turns, and the trailer has a steerable axle, which should push me, you know, into the corner. But of course I'll have to go on the grass probably, you know, we'll see. Worst case scenario, we're gonna call a Russian helicopter and lift the rear end and move it over. Yeah, it's a pretty sharp. You see, like, basically I'm pointing this way, right, and those guys are pointing that way. So basically I have to make a 180 degree turn. Right now I'm this way, and I have to be back like that because that building is parallel to me. I don't know why they make them like this. Like, wouldn't it be, you know, you're dealing with big trucks, wouldn't you want to give them a bit more space? Like, why do this? Some, you know, this hill, you know, and then they put, of course, the curb, right? Like, remove the curb, get rid of the hill, don't put those lights in there. But anyway, so yeah, that's the plan. So I'm gonna drive over to Kenworth probably tonight, leave everything there, and then take Uber, go to my car, and go to a hotel for the night. And then in the morning, because actually I told them that I'll be at the shop Friday morning, and so Friday I'm gonna get up tomorrow at 6 o'clock, hop in my car, drive over to the truck because I need to grab my you know, laundry. I don't wanna carry that laundry in the Uber, right? So I wanna grab the laundry, and then tomorrow I'll start doing all the paperwork for the, you know, I have to mail these letters, right? IFTA, New York, and then call Kentucky. Oh, and this excavator that goes to Baltimore, it goes in bond, and that's another reason why I didn't want to do it for cheap, is because I used to pay $350 for the bond. And I called the gentleman that I worked with before. I said, "Can we still do it? Because I think I did a good job. I didn't cause you any trouble. I always remember to cancel the bond properly, you know, because it's a tricky. You have to be very careful with these bonds." And he says, "Yeah, I remember. You were always careful." He says, "I don't have a problem working with you again." But he says the price of the bond went up from $350 to $425 US. And now I just got an email from him saying that he's ready to rock and roll. He sent me the form for the credit card payment, and he's in Washington, right? So Washington State, so probably now over there it's like 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, but I don't want to email it, right? It's credit card info. I want to fax it. So once I stop recording, I'm going to email him, say that, you know, I'm going to fill out that form and fax it to you in a couple of hours. Because, yeah, this is going to take a long time, you know. Sometimes it's moving okay, but then once they hit somebody were maybe that like that kettle hauler, maybe he'll want the trailer to be washed out inside, and that would take forever, you know. So yeah, but all in all, it was an interesting trip. I feel tired, that's why I want to take a couple of days off, and Monday it's back behind the wheel. And the company I'm working with has great credit. I rechecked and triple checked everything with my factoring company, so as soon as I deliver, I will have the money probably on the next day. But when I'm in Baltimore, I'm not sure I can find parking like this. I'll definitely have to stack the Jeep, at least the Jeep, on the deck, and maybe go to a truck stop and wait a couple of days if there's, you know, just to see if something pops up on the load board. And also tomorrow I'm getting paid for the second scraper. Like, this customer is very nice. You don't usually, it's hard to find people like that where they prepay you. But of course, you know, you have to ask, right? So I asked because the trailer place wants more money that I still owe them for the Stinger. And so I asked my customer, I said, can we do this, you know, prepayment again? And he said, sure. And he even gave me some fuel. You know, I got free fuel, free DEF. It's like amazing. It's like the best consignee experience, you know, shipper consignee experience I've had so far. One stressful thing about this is to find parking, right? Because it's very hard to back. It's pretty much impossible. You have to lock everything in there, and the Jeep goes this way, then it goes that way. So you always try to pull in and park somewhere on the side. So you try to avoid truck stops where there's not enough space, you know. And that's what I was doing on the way here. I was kind of learning where I can stop. And I still remember, like, from 5 years ago when I used to come to Western Canada. The line is moving. So I remember some places, but now this trip was kind of like a refresher course, so now I know where to stop. But that's the biggest thing, you know, like driving on the highway is fine, turning corners is fine, because this thing basically turns on a dime. Very, you know, I didn't expect this. It's very flexible because it's like, you know, like a caterpillar, right? I made it through and out of the wash without hitting anything. See, everything is clean. They pretty much get rid of the all that white stuff. They wash the floor, and the inside, I said, you know, as far as you can reach, because yeah, there's a lot of dirt in there under the frame. And so all I gotta do now, I think I'm gonna see, this is too much. I increased the pressure because I wanted this axle to turn sharply on the corner so that I can avoid that light post. Yeah, it looks nice. So now I'm just gonna go down. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now, yeah, I'm in the 7, which is a bit too much. So I gotta go one hole down, and that's it.